Broadcasts of HIKI No are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI No. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI No.
Aloha, I'm Crystal Sabeto, a HIKI No graduate from Waiʻanae High School's class of 2016. I've maintained a strong connection with PBS Hawaii over the years, from my early days as a HIKI No journalist at Waiʻanae Intermediate School, through my teen years with HIKI No at Waiʻanae High, and now as a student majoring in marketing and human resources at Menlo College in Northern California. Between my freshman and sophomore years at Menlo, I spent part of the summer co-producing, co-writing, and hosting a special HIKI No series called Focus on Compassion. This summer, I'm here to host this show, and to co-produce a special series of shows on the HIKI No class of 2019. My periodic connecting with HIKI No has provided me with a sense of continuity during my journey as a student trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. Connecting is also a theme that often arises in HIKI No's stories. You'll see examples of this as I present some of the outstanding stories from the spring quarter of the 2018 to 2019 school year. For example, our first story is about people connecting across the so-called generation gap to the shared benefit of the young and the old. This story comes to us from McKinley High School in Honolulu.
Hawaii's aging population is the fastest growing age group in Hawaii. Loneliness and social isolation is the silent epidemic of the aging population. To combat this, students at McKinley High School created the Lokahi Project, which includes an annual senior citizen prom, a wish-granting initiative, and weekly senior home visits to Kulana senior living apartments.
I decided to join the Lokahi Project after I had a great time at last year's senior citizen prom, and we get to bridge together the age gaps between our generation and their generation.
It has given me relationships with different younger children because the generational thinking now is very different from when I was young.
At the weekly visits, the students do various activities with the senior citizens, such as arts and crafts, baking, and karaoke, to name a few.
The visits are so important because most of these seniors that we visit are often alone or don't have much family that come by.
What it has done is drawn people out of their apartments that would normally not be out of their apartments. It's happiness because we're not lonely, we get to interact.
The Lokahi Project has created lasting impacts with both the seniors and students.
It's a jovial relationship. And I really can relate to Regina. She's just like me. She's talkative, active, cannot sit still. So we're very much alike.
The way I see Faye is kind of similar to the way I see my friends at school, because we can literally talk about anything. And the fact that she's older and I'm younger, it helps bring our two different perspectives together.
It's very refreshing and very positive to see children. I learned that there's hope for the future.
This is Brittney Batista from President William McKinley High School for HIKI No.
Art is a venue used by many to connect with the self and with the outside world. An artist's connection to his or her canvas can also tap into their cultural heritage. In the following story by students from my alma mater, Waiʻanae High School in West Oʻahu, an artist makes that connection with the living canvas of the skin.
And to me, there are a million different ways of tattooing, but I think this Hawaiian traditional kakao is a one in a million.
Kakao is a traditional Hawaiian tattoo art that tells individual stories while displaying parts of a whole culture. Each piece is created by using a hitting stick, a hau, to tap a needle into the skin, making intricate designs.
I see it as a way of life because I was born into it that if I didn't have this, I would feel empty inside.
For Ka'ula and his dad Kalehua, kakao is making its mark on the Hawaiian culture.
I see that kakao is my avenue to add to the larger whole. Kakao is something that transcends learning a skill. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a basic entirety of an individual.
He uhi ke ia hoʻikia na ina maka o nā kua.
Cultural practices are important because culture builds identity. Everyone should know who they come from, where they come from, and the stories that help to create us.
Me being Hawaiian, and I think my family and how I was raised shaped me.
He and his family moved to the rhythm of all things Hawaiian. In fact, English is almost non-existent in his household.
I must protect my culture, and this will also protect me and my family. I can feel that it's real, what we're doing is right, and it's important that we should value it.
All of the Hawaiian culture in its entirety needs to be passed down from generation to generation.
I think everyone has a different story, and we can kind of tell by their reason why they're coming to us and why they need a tattoo. Because most people come to find, like, I guess, a connection to their ancestors, or some to stay rooted or to build confidence, and that's how the tattooing kind of takes its role in it.
For Kalehua, it's been a dream to live this lifestyle. And for Ka'ula, this is Nicole Tagalikud from Waiʻanae High School for HIKI No.
Sometimes people connect with experiences deep in their past to help others in the present learn valuable lessons. Lessons that are just as relevant today as they were generations ago. The following is one such story told to us by students at Konawaena High School on Hawaiʻi Island.
Big Island resident Goldina Lefkowitz fills her time with playing mahjong and making beanies for newborn babies. Goldina is 96 years young and is proof it is never too late to learn a new skill.
And I bought some yarn and some needles and a crochet hook. And I spent all day long in the park with my little bag and practicing.
Goldie isn't just learning new skills. She's also learning how to open up and share about her experiences escaping the atrocities of the Holocaust. In 1938, Goldie and her family escaped Nazi Germany, boarding a ship from Britain and arriving in New York. At the urging of a friend and the 2018 shooting in Pittsburgh, where 11 people lost their lives at the Tree of Life Synagogue, Goldie now speaks about her experiences, but not without reservations.
The reason I came here is because I'm 96 years old and there aren't too many survivors from the Holocaust to tell this story. I want you to know that. That's why I'm here, to tell you, be kind to each other.
That's why it's so important to teach genocide, not just because of the Holocaust. It seems to me every country had a genocide at one time or another. Well, I'm glad I decided to go on with this because I had my doubts.
While Goldie is new to public speaking, her life experiences have shown her how hatred and prejudice start, because she was once ignorant of a minority group when she first went to an American hospital.
The hospital was staffed 100% black nurses. I was so terrified of them. I said, "Don't touch me, please don't touch me." I thought it would rub off. I mean, that's how ignorant I was, and that's how other people are ignorant of other things.
Goldie's unique experience of being both a victim and a perpetrator of prejudice sheds light on how ignorance begets hate.
When my husband was in the service, and we had to, I had to work and ship service in order to live on the base with him. And we had people from the outside coming in to work in the laundry. And so at lunchtime we were talking and somebody said something I didn't like. And I said, hold everything. I'm Jewish. You can't say that to me. And she would say, but Goldie, we don't mean people like you. I said, you don't? And who do you mean? I was the first Jewish person she ever met. But that's where it comes from. It comes from people saying things and then kids repeating it because, oh, if my dad says so, it has to be so, right? I think some people are very open to anybody else's suggestions, and they just follow. They don't have a mind of their own.
Whether she's knitting hats for babies or sharing her experiences about genocide, Goldie uses patience and empathy to illustrate her message on being kind to one another.
You have to be respectful of other people. If you expect respect, you have to give it too. And that's the bottom line in my book.
This is Xavier Chung from Konawaena High School for HIKI No.
Some people become connected to one another in profound, life-changing ways that defy the odds, contradict the law of averages, and break all rules of statistical probability. The following story by students at Hilo Intermediate School on Hawaiʻi Island is about a connection that is truly one in a million.
When Daniel Kuramoto was a young boy in Hilo, he never thought his father would be diagnosed with cancer. Luckily, his aunt donated her bone marrow to Daniel's father, giving him a little while longer to live. This act of kindness inspired Daniel to become a bone marrow donor himself.
20 years later, I finally get a call saying that you are a match.
How is a bone marrow match determined? It's basically genetics or DNA. The same way you inherit your eye color, hair color, skin color from your parents, that's how we base our matches on. So it's different from blood type A or B, that kind of thing.
When Daniel's aunt donated her bone marrow to Daniel's father, the procedure was intrusive and painful.
Back then, there was only one way you could do it. Get a big needle like this and poke it through your hip, up to your bone, and pull out the stem cells.
But now, a much less invasive option is available.
It's called PBSC, or peripheral blood stem cell, where it's not bone marrow, it's taken from your arm. You're hooked up to a machine, and a cell separator machine, and it draws the blood out of one arm, separates the cells, take what we need, and put your blood back in the other arm. The process is about 4 to 6 hours.
I had leukemia, and that was 2013.
The day that they sent me the person's information, they sent it to me via email. So I opened it up, and there was the person's contact information, and it said from Hilo. So I kind of Google mapped it, and funny thing is, man, it was only 2 miles from my house. Could have been from anybody in the world, really.
He called. I got a call and said, "Oh, this is Daniel, and I'm your donor." I said, "I live in Hilo." I said, "What?" I was like a little kid screaming. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, how rare is it that Ms. Amateur and Mr. Kuramoto matched? Yeah, that was very rare that they live in the same community.
You know, if Seiko were here right now, I would just thank her. You know, we built this relationship, this good relationship. My kids now, they call her auntie, you know, and we invite her over to the big holidays and stuff.
I can't say thank you enough to him, but the only thing I can do is just live.
This is Hokulani Thomas from Hilo Intermediate School for HIKI No.
In some cases, the success or failure to connect can determine the survival or extinction of an entire species. The following story by students at Kua'okala Miloliʻi Hipu'u Virtual Academy on Hawaiʻi Island is about the connection efforts to save an endangered, indigenous Hawaiian crow.
The cry of the alala, or the Hawaiian crow, is a distinctive sound you only hear in the forests of the Big Island. But the sound of the endemic bird almost fell silent forever. Due to loss of habitat, disease, and predators, by 2002 there were no longer any alala left in the wild. But thanks to a dedicated team, the alala is now showing signs of a comeback.
We're here at the Keauhou Bird Conservation Center, in Volcano on Hawaiʻi Island. And what we do here is we breed critically endangered Hawaiian birds and we release them back out into the wild.
The work began in the 1970s when workers captured alala and began to breed the birds at the center.
So the alala, like many other plants and animals and insects and fish that are found only here in Hawaii, are really a part of this place. So I think that it's important for us to preserve, protect, and restore all of these different species that are found only here in the islands.
The first release in 2016 was unsuccessful, and 3 of the 5 birds died. 1 starved and 2 were killed by the eel, the Hawaiian hawk. The remaining birds were captured and brought back to the center. With the 2017 release, there are signs that the birds are learning to survive in the wild.
We're out there in the field one day monitoring some of the birds, and we were just walking away from this area that the birds were hanging out in, and we hear this eruption of alarm calls from the alala. And then we turn and we end up seeing 4 alala chasing 2 eel, and that's the kind of behavior that we'd hope to see to keep them surviving.
The latest release in 2018 brought some very exciting news.
So we have a couple of pairs that we believe are starting to form out in the wild, which is really exciting. The formation of breeding pairs is a really interesting and exciting step. The end goal for the Alala Project is to produce a self-sustaining population of alala in the wild. The formation of the pairs, that's their first breeding step. They will form lifelong bonds with each other so that they mate for life as much as we know. And with that mating for life, they'll kind of break off from the rest of the group. They'll form their territory. They'll start defending that territory and then possibly start building nests and then hopefully mating and producing eggs.
This gives us hope that someday the cry of the alala will be common throughout the forests of the Big Island. This is Akia Kamaicho from Kuokala Miloliʻi Hipuʻu Virtual Academy for HIKI No.
Music, the universal language, has always been a great connector of people. For the teacher in the following story from Chiefus Kamakahele Middle School on Kauai, music provides a way for her to connect students with the values she hopes they will embrace.
Gather the people, enter the feast.
Sister Gina Senapilo loves teaching through song. Every weekend, she leads the children's choir at the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Lihui. She founded the choir as a way to share the power of music and the lessons behind it.
So for me, music is a really very powerful tool also in teaching people about the values of life, the values of the kingdom, and then also the values of learning. Yeah, in learning there are really values. The values of humility, the values of friendship, the values of freedom, and the values of community living, a value of just loving people whoever they are.
Sister Gina grew up in the Philippines and was inspired to teach at a young age.
So before I graduated college, I already know what I want in life, to become a missionary and to teach the children who cannot go like to the Catholic school. I have this vivid experience when I was a kid of a teacher who was so impatient with kids. And because he was so impatient, he would always scold kids, and kids would stay away from her. So when I was second grade at that time, and I said to myself, I want to be a really very patient teacher so that my students will learn to love school and would learn more because they enjoy the teacher and the teacher is very patient to them.
Sister Gina loves children and is constantly inspired by them.
I always like their simplicity. I always like their humility. And you have children, even if they have simple thoughts, they teach us so much as adults. They teach us also values of patience and love.
Sister Gina expresses her emotions through singing and hopes her students are inspired to do the same.
I really love music. When I'm sad, I sing. When I'm happy, I sing. When I want to talk to my God, I sing. And it makes difference because they can relate. You know, it's the melody, it's the lesson of the song that is speaking to to the person, not only to their brains, but most of all to their hearts.
This is Haley Arakaki from Chiefis Kamakahele Middle School for HIKI Now.
Having the opportunity to connect with one's peers is immensely important to those who have been born with a condition that can disconnect them from the mainstream. The following story by students at Maui High School is about a young woman who is thriving through a program that provides that connection.
Some of the challenges that affects me is I'm not able to do most of the basic stuff that people without a disability can do.
Maui High School senior Brittney Batista was diagnosed with hypomelanosis of Ito at a very young age. The developmental delay syndrome affects her speech, intellectual ability, and motor skills.
She's 17 years old, and we still need to help her do, certain daily activities like brushing her teeth. She can't tie her own shoe. She can't put her hair up herself. She can't ride a bike. From a social aspect, she's been shunned. It makes me sad during growing up that, people would recognize her disability. And as a parent, it's sad to see that.
Helping her overcome her past, the Special Olympics program provided Brittney with a new family and a place of belonging.
I get to have my own place in the school. And Special Olympics is one of my highlights so far in my high school career.
Maui High's Special Olympics is an inclusion program where students with and without disabilities come together to participate in sports, socials, and other extracurricular activities. This acceptance and family-like bond is something Brittney has been searching for her entire life.
I receive many opportunities from Special Olympics. I get to embrace my disability, and I get to compete in sport with my other classmates.
As one of only 12 United States youth ambassadors, Brittney's sports career is not quite over. She will be using her experience and voice to advocate for Special Olympics, unified champion schools, and the advancement of inclusive youth leadership.
My goal is to introduce Special Olympics to the younger generation, and I want them to learn that everybody is the same and nobody should judge on what their physical characteristics look like.
In the future, Brittney will be traveling to California and hopefully to Abu Dhabi for the World Olympic Games. And more opportunities are sure to come her way, especially with her persistent attitude and headstrong approach to life.
With Brittney being at the forefront and, we recognizing the fact she's bringing more awareness. We're all human beings, and we should all be treated equally no matter, what our disabilities are, if we have some or not. And let's be kind to each other.
This is Hannah Okamoto from Maui High School for HIKI No.
Our final story demonstrates that man's best friend needs to be connected with the right friend in order to find a forever home. From Waiʻanae High School on Hawaiʻi Island, here is Aloha Ilio.
Liko is feeling the love in his forever home. However, things may have turned out rough for this pup if he hadn't been placed into the care of Aloha Ilio Rescue in Hilo, Hawaii.
Aloha Ilio Rescue is a rescue that consists of a lot of community involvement. We save a lot of dogs. Last year, almost 700 dogs with our foster-based program. Fosters take in these animals and provide them with a home and structure and training, and we provide all the medical care and the advertisement to find them their forever homes.
Daylin is an amazing matchmaker. She finds pets that will match the households, and then she only adopts them out one time because they match, they fit well, and then everybody's happy. Since the island is pretty contained, there isn't an endless source of homes for all of the animals. They often say that one person would have to have 16 dogs and 40-something cats in their home to make it so that every pet had a home.
I think if people really knew what the real numbers were and looked into it more, I think a lot of the community would be really, really surprised at the amount of dogs that go through our Hawaiʻi Island Humane Society and how hard they try to get the numbers down. And that's why we jumped in to help, because we take almost 90-70% of our dogs all from the shelters. It's just love. It's love for the animals. It's my passion. It's what I enjoy doing. My goal is that we can change the laws here in Hawaii and make it so that people have to be accountable for their pets. Spaying and neutering, keeping the pet population under control, and no more dogs being euthanized. Ultimately, we wouldn't need to do this anymore. If you can foster for an organization, do it. If you can get along with that organization and you feel that you believe in what they're doing, foster for them, help them with the animals, because if it's not for the fosters, we wouldn't have anything. We'll let the easier one out. I think people appreciate the care that the animals have had within Aloha Ilio Rescue. And when they get the animal, how well cared for they are and how relaxed they are. You know, they've already had some house training. It's just a different entity that we strive for.
Ready? You ready? Come on. Come on.
Whatever dog that is adopted from Aloha Ilio, their goal is to make sure that the families are ready and able to take care of the dogs, that they will be loved and nurtured, because many of these dogs were neglected or abused. In Liko's case, he was more neglected. Ilio had come to do the home inspection, and after said, okay, you'll be receiving him on September 2nd. He's now thriving. That just kind of makes it all that much more better for him. You know, you see the dog as a pet, but he's just another member of the family.
Thanks to the care of Aloha Ilio, there is a happy ending to this dog's tale. This is Mackenzie Carvalho from Waiʻanae High School for HIKI No.
I hope you've enjoyed these stories on the importance and power of connecting as much as I've enjoyed sharing them with you. Each one is living proof that storytelling is the greatest connector of all. They also prove that when it comes to telling great stories, Hawaii students HIKI No can do.
Broadcasts of HIKI No are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI No. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI No.